The other one, Zubairu Atta, is there to come join us. So while we're waiting for our other guests to join us this morning, we'd like to set off and start talking with Chief Emeka. Chief Emeka, you're welcome.
It's a beautiful day.
I hope it's always been a beautiful day. Always been a beautiful day. Now, right into the matter, what is your assessment? How do you assess the situation in terms of the protests?
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
First and foremost, let me say that I connect with the mood of the nation. But having said that, I also feel the pain of a typical Nigerian. I've used two words, the mood of the nation and a typical Nigerian, to be able to set the stage for what I actually want to say. You see, we must begin to deal with issues in this country. We must begin to get very unsentimental when it comes to national development issues. And in trying to now deal with these issues, first of all, let us look at this administration. Government is a continuum. It is only in this country that somehow government machinery, has tended to, have bends and curves and programs and all that. So let us now limit it to the transformation agenda of this present administration. And let us please get a little bit dispassionate when we're discussing this. First and foremost, we need to define and understand the word transformation. When you want to transform something, it simply means you want to take it from where it was to something that is totally and completely different. When you want to transform gold into jewelry, it goes through a lot of heat and furnace. Let's just be able to use that little, example to be able to set the stage properly. Now, in doing this, and if we are able to now interpret the word transformation, the next thing we should be looking at is to say, okay, fine. Let us also now use the keywords of the transformation agenda, which is privatization. Okay, when somebody says the government has no business in business, what government should do is to be able to now set the stage, or what you call develop the prevailing environment for the private sector, which has existed as a department of the public sector in this country, to be able to now really and truly become a private sector. Having looked at these two things, my brother, we're now ready to now start discussing the issues. And in discussing the issues, we're able to now draw clearly three factors here, or variables. One is that we're dealing with legal issues here. Two is that we're dealing with operational issues here. And three is that we're dealing with structural issues here. So I'm not coming here to say I am for or I am against. I want all of us here to be able to think this thing through. By the end of the day, pigeonholing this now against what you can call your socio-economic realities, where you have a country, my brother, that studies, clear studies have shown that over 90% of our population are living below the bread line. It is no longer poverty line, it is bread line. Are you listening? Thank you. That cassava bread with the chop now. We are living below the cassava bread line.
Okay.
Are you there?
And you think that the subsidy mover will bring them out of the
That's what I'm saying. Let us look at the issues.
Yeah, because our institution where our viewers also understand.
Yes, let us look at it. That's what I say. For me to come here, I don't want to talk about subsidy. I don't want to talk about subsidy vis-a-vis everybody saying subsidy, 65 naira, subsidy, figure.
Yeah.
We are subsidizing everything. We are subsidizing energy. How many people in this country know that we are not consuming power? We are consuming electricity. For us to be able to translate power to electricity, there are some subsidies being paid. Somebody is paying for the cost of the production of our power that is now being translated into electricity.
So you're saying, as a matter of fact, that we pay less for electricity than we should normally pay?
Of course.
That's what you're saying?
No, what I'm saying is that, you see, Nigeria is the only country that produces power and consumes electricity. But it's another story for another day.
But the word,
okay.
So viewers can understand.
Okay, let me put it this way. Yeah. Let me make it very elementary. When you're talking about power, you're talking about megawatts of electricity. That's why you see the ministers, 3,000 megawatts, 4,000 megawatts, 10,000 megawatts. Yeah. That's not what is sent to your house. What is sent to your house is kilowatt hour of electricity. This is where you now begin to talk about your injection stations, your substations, and all that. The cost of producing that raw power is a lot different from what it is you're paying to be able to get your kilowatt hours of electricity. So sometimes when people now begin to say to you, we are also reviewing electricity prices, oh, it's going to be some other very big picture. Because we've not been able to leave our traditional, let us draw the battle line. I am labor, your government. I mean, we've just gotten a very clear proof of how people can be able to change lines. I'm not going to start mentioning names here. We've had a labor leader who is now saying, let us listen to government. This was the same person that led us to the streets more than 10 times.
But they made an effort. Wouldn't you think that Labour made an effort?
Let me tell you the effort Labour would have made that would have impressed me, my dear sister. Thinking things through is the way to go now. If Labour said to us, this is our research department, first and foremost, Labour is not saying, I stand to be corrected. But please let me also make this very, very clear. I don't work for government, and I'm not here to defend government. It's very important that I make that point very clear.
From what you're saying, you're not defending government. You're putting issues into
Thank you.
from your point of view.
It is important that we put it into perspective from a very, very professional point of view. Each time I watch you guys, doing what it is you know how to do best. It is possible outside this studio, you are another thing altogether. But the moment you sit in here, trust me, you are doing what you're being paid to do, what you're being trained to do. Nigerians must begin to buy things to programs. Somebody comes in here and says to you, there's a cabal.
No, sorry, the cabal story didn't come from people coming in here. The cabal story actually came from government sources. Please remember. The Senate spoke about the cabal. No, it's important we put it into perspective. Sorry, brother. The cabal thing on this oil matter didn't come from the press or from the public. It came from the persons in government. So, of course, when people in government put out a word like that, people will begin to discuss it, just for perspective.
I remember I used the word somebody.
In government.
As a somebody. Everybody is shouting cabal.
Yeah.
What is a cabal?
The
system can be a cabal. You can create a cabal. The cabal does not have to be a meeting of people. At one time in this country, everybody was shouting Kaduna Mafia. Kaduna Mafia.
Yeah.
And then somebody says, who are members of this Kaduna Mafia? You see, these are words that we banter and we really are not able to put some meat to it. I am trying to say to you, yes, it is possible that there's a cabal. It's also possible that that cabal can be an instrument. It does not have to be human. It's also possible that you can also now put a human cabal to this thing. It's also possible that that system, can actually now run the instrument that can be able to now actually propel people to now do the biddings of the cabal. So where am I going to from here? Like I said to you, the issues involved in this thing are three. First and foremost, the legal issues. The first legal issue you have in this instance is, does the president have the powers and the right to do what he has done? That is issue number one. Issue number two is what I now call the structural issues. Now, does the structure operating the oil sector allow for this instrument or these human beings they call the cabal to be able to now get away with this so-called, fraud? The third issue now becomes the operational issues. This thing government wants to do, the framework he wants to use in pursuing it, is it going to be beneficial to all? I'm sorry to say this. The probable members of that union will be people offloading Chinese textiles in Kano.
And you blame the labor for this?
Listen,
just a question.
Listen, if you say to me, we have passed, 100 years ago, you see armies, this one wearing red, this one wearing green, they draw a line and start shooting and chucking bayonets at each other. We have gotten to a stage where people now think things through. You see, when I look at the federal government delegation going to dialogue, and I see the Minister of Labor, and I see the Minister of the Secretary to Government, and I'm not seeing the Minister of Science and Technology. I'm not seeing the Minister of Mines and Steel. And I begin to wonder, what are we dialoguing? Because if you're saying that what it is, I'm not saying the Minister of Industries. You see, what it is we've seen it says to Labour, government has produced a document that they call SHOP. There is no document, even if you write a letter 10 times and give it to 10 different people, chances are that those 10 different people will be able to say, put easier and put and there, and those 10 corrections might go. What it is we need to do, what I think, we are trying to say here is, as Nigerians, losing billions or losing trillions, is not consequential. What is consequential is the human factor that we are losing. Government can lose $1 trillion and get it back. You're a woman, madam. There are more intelligent people, more beautiful girls who are out there unemployed.
That's correct.
Unemployed. Most of them are forced to do very, very unimaginable things. And they end up in church paying for tithes with these monies. So do you want to imagine the kind of emotional conflict that are going through? A lot of you have been brought up to say it is horrible to date a married man. Yet it's the only person that can pay your rent. No, this is...
Let's not digress from this.
Let's digress, because if you don't understand these issues, you can't be able to tie this 160 million, which is money. Let us talk about 160 million people who will need to wake up in the morning, do one little thing for their children to be able to eat. Are we not talking about them? Because when you're talking about this money, Labour says to you, it is your fault. But let us talk about the human beings, the human resources. Let us go to places like AIT should be able to take a camera. I've not seen it happen. What I see people do is to show people who are carrying leaves and shouting, insulting the representative of our collective corporate image. I see young people writing, Jonathan idiot, Jonathan bastard, and all that. In other countries, Ghana removed subsidy. How many people are insulted at Tamil?
Sorry, please, let me take you on that. As a matter of fact, AIT this organization takes clips of it. And AIT also covered the stories of states where the strike is not taking place. That's balance. It's important to note that.
That's not what I'm saying.
No, you say AIT, sorry please, you say AIT are taking people carrying leave. That is an event that is happening. In also some states, like Anambra, like Enugu, we had the governor of River State, Amechi. There's no strike in River State. There's no strike in Enugu. There's no strike in Anambra State, as an example. We reported that. So what I'm saying is, no, please, sir, it's important. AIT is not here to censor news. AIT, every news organization, and I'm a journalist, every news organization has a responsibility to bring the stories out to the marketplace, which we call the audience. Take it as it happens.
There's one you're not bringing. The one you're not bringing is that you're not bringing the women who will need to go and fry akara in the morning before they go back in the evening to be able to cook for their children. Yeah. We are not bringing what they are going through based on this strike. This is where I am coming from. Okay. We are not. I'm not concerned with how much money government is losing or making. I am concerned with that woman, with that man who is in that little house, has a baby who hasn't eaten since morning, because she cannot go out to fry her akara. This is where the problem is, and there are over 120 million Nigerians that way.
Emeka, that's grand.
Let me give a little bit, because when you played, I wish we finished playing that Zamfara thing, because I was very heavily involved in the Zamfara lead poisoning story. It's something that has become very emotional. Probably it was because of me it didn't actually preach, because sometimes I really get theoretical when it gets to that point. My grandfather started one of the first indigenous mines in this country in 1952.
Where?
In Jos.
Okay.
So I am more of a northerner than I am anything else.
But from your name, you are Igbo, I guess.
Yes. I can also tell you that my wife is from the north. Okay. And way back in those days in Jos, nobody knew who was a Christian and nobody knew who was a Muslim. Nobody. Up until 10, 15 years ago. You know why? Because everybody who lived in Jos had a job. My parents were all working either in the mines or in the processing mills or an ATMN or something. Now, I had done some review of the mining sector. I was in the Vision 2020. I was in the solid minerals thematic group. And part of what I told, my thematic group was that we are making mistakes in this country. We are not able to build a substructure that can be able to grow our economy out of this market structure that we have. You see, why I am this pained, why I am this emotional about this issue, is that I believe that government had opened a window to dialogue.